All right, let's just get right into it. The Middle East is teetering on the very edge of a massive conflict. We're talking about airstrikes rattling a capital city, a world leader being assassinated, and the United States unleashing some of its most advanced military hardware. This whole thing is unfolding at just breakneck speed, and it has consequences for the entire globe.
And really, at the heart of all this chaos is one single seismic question. What actually happens when a figure who has defined a nation for nearly half a century is suddenly just gone? It creates this power vacuum so huge, it threatens to suck the entire region in with it.
I mean, the pace here has been absolutely staggering. Look at this. Day 1, that's February 28th, coordinated U.S. and Israeli airstrikes kick off. By day 2, the unthinkable happens. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is killed. And then on day 3, right in the middle of all this chaos, you get this stunning announcement from President Trump, who says Iran's new leadership, they want to talk.
So, let's start with the event that just changed everything. A leader falls in Tehran. And this isn't just some headline. This is the end of an entire era. And yeah, the beginning of a really profound crisis. Think about it. For almost 4 decades, Ayatollah Khamenei was the final word in Iran. He shaped its politics, its military, its whole identity on the world stage. So for him to be killed in a strike on what was supposed to be a secure compound, that's not just the loss of a leader. It's like a decapitation of the state's command structure, happening live for the whole world to see. So you have to ask, what was the force behind this? Well, that brings us to the U.S. military's response, which was this massive operation codenamed Epic Fury. And just look at the sheer scale of the power being projected here. We're talking B-2 stealth bombers. These things can fly halfway around the world completely undetected to hit the most protected targets imaginable. Then you've got F-35s, the best fighter jets on the planet, to make sure you own the skies. And holding it all down, entire aircraft carrier strike groups. These are basically floating American cities with just immense firepower. This is not a show of force. This is the deployment of a military machine designed for total, overwhelming dominance. And of course, the consequences of an operation like this, they're felt immediately. And not just in the Middle East, but everywhere. So let's look at the fallout and see how a crisis in Tehran can actually be felt in a place like Tulsa. The most immediate cost and the most tragic is the human one. Iranian authorities are reporting that more than 200 people have been killed since the strikes began. And that's a number that really drives home the stark reality of modern warfare on the ground. And behind that number, you find these just devastating individual stories. One of the airstrikes reportedly hit a hospital in Tehran. It forced a full evacuation of all the patients, including, and it's hard to even believe this, a newborn baby in an incubator. It's just this powerful, tragic image of how conflict always hits the most vulnerable people the hardest. Now, this is a perfect example of how a regional crisis ends up hitting all of us, right in our own backyards. It's a chain reaction. First, you get instability in the Middle East. That immediately threatens the Strait of Hormuz, which is a tiny choke point that a huge amount of the world's oil has to pass through. As soon as that happens, global oil markets start to panic because they're afraid the supply will get cut off. And the result? The price you pay for gas, for shipping, for pretty much everything, it starts to go up. Which, of course, brings us back to the central political question of this whole crisis. With Khamenei gone, who is actually in charge of Iran right now? So according to Iran's own constitution, an interim council is supposed to take over. And here's who is on it. You've got the current president, Masoud Pezeshkian, the head of the judiciary, and a very senior cleric, Ayatollah Arafi. This council is basically designed to be a temporary bridge, to steer the ship until a new, permanent supreme leader can be chosen. But here's the real kicker. This is all happening during a time of war. And in that kind of environment, power tends to gravitate towards those with guns. A lot of analysts believe the super powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, could use this crisis to grab even more power for themselves, maybe even shaping who the next leader will be and the direction Iran takes for decades. So, this all leads us to the critical crossroads where the world finds itself right at this very moment. Is the path forward going to be more war, or is there a chance for words? It's a classic standoff between military action and diplomacy. And just when it seemed like tensions were about to boil over, this quote drops. President Trump comes out and says, Iran's new leadership wants to talk. And he's agreed. I mean, it is a totally unexpected diplomatic signal, just dropped right into the middle of a massive military operation.
So you've got these two completely opposite realities playing out at the exact same time. It's wild. On the one hand, Operation Epic Fury is still going, airstrikes are still hitting targets. But on the other hand, you've got this new potential opening for de-escalation with signals for talks and calls for restraint. Both of these things are true right now, and that's what makes this moment so incredibly fragile. So here's the bottom line. We're at a moment of just profound uncertainty. You've got a brand new, untested leadership council in Tehran, and you've got military forces all over the region on their highest alert. So, is all this talk of dialogue the beginning of a real de-escalation? Or is it just the quiet before a much, much larger storm?